Buddha taught basically the human life is very short, fraught with suffering, fraught with unhappiness. We do our best to make everything pleasant. We do our best to make everything wonderful. We do our best to actually fool ourselves and make everything look wonderful, fabulous, and beautiful. Like putting makeup over a face. Then, to escape from suffering, or samsara, suffering existence, cyclic existence, which in Sanskrit we say samsara, we must cut its roots by eradicating self-grasping from our mental continuum. Self-grasping. This depends upon training in a higher wisdom, which depends upon higher concentration and higher moral disciplines. Now, Buddha taught specifically many different facets of suffering. Number 1 is birth. Number 2 is aging. Number 3 is sickness. Number 4 is death. Having to part with what we like. Having to encounter what we do not like. Failing to satisfy our desires. The list goes on and on. Birth. We have to spend 9 months inside our mother's wombs. When our mother drinks something hot, it scalds our skin. When our mother drinks something cold, we freeze. Although we cannot remember, it's a very tight sac. It's very closed. It's very small. And there is no movement of any type. And any movement, if there is, slight and quite restrained. Quite a lot of suffering for 9 months staying inside, unmoving. For example, if she runs, our fragile body is severely jolted. During this time, we're alone, and the suffering that we experience inside the womb is quite intense. And then finally, when we take rebirth, it says that it is like being pushed between a narrow crevice of 2 hard rocks into a harsh and alien world, unable to speak, unable to express one's views, unable to talk. We have already at that point, if we are ordinary beings, forgotten our previous lifetimes, forgotten completely. We have to start new, we are dumb, we have to start everything anew again. Our skin is so tender that even the softest cloth feels abrasive. When we are hungry, we cannot say, I need food. When we are in pain, we cannot say, this is hurting me. The only sign we can make are hot tears and furious gestures. We are completely helpless and have to be taught everything. How to eat, how to sit, how to walk, how to talk. Again, we have to start this process again and again and again. Then aging. As soon as you're born, the process of aging begins. As we grow old, our youthful vitality diminishes. We become bent, unattractive, burdened with illness. Our eyesight becomes weaker, our hearing fails. We cannot derive the same enjoyment from the things we used to enjoy, such as food, drink, and entertainments. We are too weak to play games, and we are often too exhausted even for entertainments. When we are young, we can travel around the whole world, but when we are old, we can hardly walk to our own front door. We become too weak to engage in many worldly activities. Our spiritual activities are often curtailed. For example, we cannot make any prostrations or travel far or sit in teachings for a long time. Our memory and our concentration weaken. Anything that is told to us, we forget immediately. Our intellect, which was very sharp, becomes very dull. Unable to do the work we used to do or to help others in the way we'd like to, we begin to feel useless in society and start to lose self-respect. We are often neglected by our children, and we watch helplessly as one of our friends, as our old friends and contemporaries grow sick and die and pass away. Inexorably, your loneliness deepens. If we did not practice Dharma while we were younger and had the opportunity, we pass our few remaining years with a growing fear of death and a deepening sense of regret for a wasted life. Then, along with that, sickness. Having been born as a human, it is impossible to escape from having to experience sickness in this life. When we fall ill, we are like a bird that has been soaring in the sky and suddenly shot down. Even a mild illness can be completely incapacitating. We cannot enjoy the foods we like or take part in activities of our friends. We may be told that we may never again eat our favorite foods, drink alcohol, engage in strenuous exercises. If our disease is more serious, we may have to undergo painful and possibly risky operations. Should these fail, we should be told that the doctors can do nothing to cure us and we have only a short time left to live. If we have not used our lives to practice Dharma, we shall be overcome with fear and regret. Young people in their prime may be struck down by an incurable degenerative illness. Though they may remain alive for many years, they will have to watch themselves slowly deteriorate. Realizing that the most treasured hopes and dreams will never be fulfilled, they may wish they could die sooner. When we hear or read about the horrible diseases experienced by others, we must remember that the same could happen to us. While we remain in samsara, we are never safe from the threat of sickness, ever. Death. If during our life we have worked hard to acquire possessions that become very attached to them, we shall experience great sufferings when we are separated from them at the time of death. Even now, we find it difficult to lend one of our most treasured possessions to someone else, let alone give it away. No wonder we become so miserable when we realize that in the hands of death, we must abandon everything. Give up everything. When we die, we have to part from even our closest friends. We have to leave our partner, even though we have been together for many years and never spent a day apart. If we are attached to our friends, we shall experience great misery at the time of death. But all we shall be able to do is to hold their hands. We shall not be able to halt the process of death, even if they plead with us not to die. Usually, when we are very attached to someone, we feel jealous if they leave us on our own and spend time with someone else. But when we die, we shall have to leave all our friends with others forever. If we have children, we shall have to leave them when we die. We shall have to leave our spiritual friends and all the people who have helped us in this life. When we die, this body that we have cherished and cared for in so many ways will be left behind. It will become mindless like a stone and will be buried in the ground or cremated. If we have not practiced Dharma and cultivated virtuous actions, at the time of death we shall develop fear and distress as well as bodily pain. Having to part with what we like. Before the final separation at the time of death, we often have to experience temporary separation from the people and things we like. We may have to leave our country where our friends and relatives live, or we may have to leave the job we like. We may lose our reputation. Many times in this life we have to experience the misery of parting from people we like or forsaking and losing the things we find pleasant and attractive. But when we die, we have to part with them forever. All companions, all enjoyments, all possessions. Having to encounter with what we do not like, we are often forced to live or work with people whom we find unpleasant, such as those who criticize us for no reason, or with those who continually interfere with our wishes. Sometimes we may find ourselves in very dangerous situations, such as in a fire or an earthquake, attacked by a mugger or a killer. If our country goes to war, we may be called up to fight or be imprisoned. If we refuse, our homes may be bombed and our relatives killed. Our lives are full of less extreme situations which we find annoying. On holidays it rains, but back in the office the heat is stifling. Our business fails, or we lose our job, or we use up all our savings. We argue with our partner, our children cause us many worries, and our old friends suddenly turn against us. Whatever we do, something always seems to go wrong. Even in our Dharma practice, we continually meet obstacles. Even when we sit down to meditate, we are distracted by outside noise, the telephone rings, or someone comes to see us. Sometimes it seems that even though we have been practicing Dharma for years, our delusions are stronger than ever. Even though we try hard to be considerate, sometimes our family, our friends become unhappy about our Dharma practice. It is just as we are living in a thorn bush. Whenever we adjust ourselves to make ourselves more comfortable, the thorns only pierce us more deeply. In samsara, or cyclic existence, aggravation and frustration are the natural state of affairs. In cyclic existence, frustration and aggravation is a natural state of affairs. You should expect it. Like when you walk near the shoreline of an ocean. Don't be surprised when your feet and clothes get wet. In samsara, it is a natural state of affairs to have aggravation and frustration. Constantly failing to satisfy our desires. We have countless desires. Many cannot be fulfilled at all, and others, when fulfilled, do not bring us any satisfaction for which we have hope. The sky's the limit. Many people are unable to satisfy even modest desires for the basic necessities of life, such as adequate food, clothing, shelter, companionship, tolerable work, or a degree of personal freedom. Unfortunately, even if these basic needs are met, our desires do not end there. Soon we need a car, a more luxurious home, a better paid job. In the past, a simple holiday at the seaside may have been sufficient, but our expectations continually increased, and now we need expensive foreign holidays. Ambition and competitiveness are common cause of dissatisfaction. The ambitious schoolchild cannot rest content until he or she comes top of the class, nor the businessman until he has made his fortune. Clearly, not everyone can come top. For one person to win, others must lose. But even the winners are rarely dissatisfied for long. Their ambition drives them on until they are too beaten, worn out, or dead. Another reason why we fail to satisfy our desire is that they are often contradictory. Another reason we fail to satisfy all our desires is that they are often contradictory. For example, we want both worldly success and a simple life. We want fame at the same time, privacy. We want delicious, fattening, rich foods, but at the same time, a slim figure. We want excitement and at the same time, security. We may demand our own way all the time and still expect to be popular, or we may demand our own way all the time and still expect to be popular. Contradictions. While we may wish Dharma realizations, yet still covet a good reputation of material wealth. Contradiction. Our desires often involve other people, and this creates a special complication. Many relationships break up because of unrealistic expectations and desires. Contradictions. Well, but a simple life. How can that be? All that entails to be wealthy excludes you to have a simple life. Fame. Everyone wants to be famous and well known, but when it becomes overbearing, you want privacy. Out of the question. We love delicious foods, yet we still want to be slim. We want a lot of excitement, at the same time, security. We want everything our way and our way only, but we also want to be popular. Contradictory. You see how our deluded mind tricks us and makes us do things that bring opposite results. Everything brings an opposite result. We want Dharma realization. We want to have wisdom, good meditation. We want to have clairvoyance. At the same time, we covet a good reputation and material wealth. Contradictions. We seek perfection, the perfect society, the perfect home, the perfect partner, but perfection cannot be found in samsara. It cannot be found in existence, because our existence is based on imperfect acts, therefore creating imperfect situations and environments. We constantly seek perfection, but we constantly meet up with imperfection. Constantly. We can never let our guards down, because we have created a karmic seed, or the karma, to experience imperfection. No perfection or happiness or lasting peace can be achieved in samsara, in existence. It cannot be. It is not possible for impure transient objects to provide the lasting joy we seek. Transient objects, lasting joy. Contradiction. All objects that we see after and we want are transient, temporary. How can transient objects that will decay and die and go away and disappear or be taken away from us create lasting joy? How can it? Illogical. Yet, we still seek lasting joy in transient, impermanent objects. A new car, a new partner, more jewelry, bigger bank accounts, better job, better situation, more games, more entertainment. When their very nature, all these phenomenons' very nature is transient or impermanent, how can they create lasting happiness or permanent happiness? This can only be attained by thoroughly purifying our mind.